Love, exciting and new.
Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever.
It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships are Bermudan and British Registry.
Lowe's knows how to help you get the most out of your store run. That's why members save more with My Lowe's Rewards. Earn points towards My Lowe's money on eligible purchases. Get access to member-only deals and free member gifts. Plus, unlock free standard shipping when you reach Silver Key status. So what are you waiting for? Join for free today. Lowe's. We help. You save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
And finally, really ended up at USC, and it was great. And he's like, "Oh, okay, great." And I was like, "Yeah, the USC has an amazing MFA and acting program." And I was like, "Oh, they also have a film program at a School of Cinematic Arts." And he's like, "Mm-hmm." And then I and I'm like, "You've heard of?" "Yeah, I'm sure some of the greatest creators come out of the School of Cinematic Arts. It's a really, really excellent program." And I look over, I glance over, and I see Scott, and he's now that I know him, he's great, but then he was so intimidating, looked down the whole time, just sort of listening. And I see him sort of, raise over and look over at John. And then I see the casting people also and I thought, and I was like, yeah, I see it. I was like, oh, great. And it's I see it as an invitation to keep talking about this program.
Hello world, and welcome back to another episode of Thanks for Coming In. I'm your host, Jillian Clare. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the show where I speak to fellow actors about their journey, and I make them share an audition story. If you're not following the show on social media, hit those links in the show notes and check out our YouTube channel to see the entire interview in video format. All right, folks, it's been a while. I went on a hiatus, I guess, of sorts. Not for any particular reason other than the fact that I was just super tired and I needed to take a break for a little bit. After doing the show for nearly 5 years, 4.5 years at this point, I just wanted to kind of relax. So I did, and it was fantastic. But we're back, and I'm very excited to be back. Today on the show, we have Amielynn Abellera. She is on the new Max hit show, The Pitt, with Noah Wiley. It's a fantastic show. If you haven't been watching, please go watch it. And we had a great conversation. It was such a joy to talk to her. So here is my conversation with Amielynn. And welcome to the show, Amielynn.
Yay! Thank you for having me, Jillian. I'm really stoked to be here and having a conversation. How fun. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so excited to have you here too. You're on a brand new show that everybody's loving, and it's already been picked up for season 2, and we're going to talk about that later. But the first question I always love to ask my guests is, what made you want to be an actor?
Oh, man.
I know. It's a hard one, right?
It is a really hard, loaded question every time, and I feel like my answer is always a little bit different because then I discover all these different things that I'm like, oh, that's probably why I also was an actor. But I mean, what comes to mind initially is, growing up, my parents were such, champions and advocates for theater, and I mean, my dad was a physician, my mom was a nurse.
Oh, wow.
Retired. I know, crazy. Full circle a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
But one of our favorite pastimes to do as a family, me, my brother, and my 2 parents, was to go to the city of San Francisco. I'm from Stockton, California, which is north. Yeah. And San Francisco is about 90 minutes away, and we would always go watch musical theater when it was there. And I think I really just fell in love with Les Miserables and Saigon and Phantom of the Opera, like those were my three trifecta of the things that I think I became so enamored and so obsessed with, like what storytelling on stage like invoked in me. Invoked, one of those words,
Yeah.
in myself. And I was like, this is, I couldn't stop thinking about theater or the story or that person's, the actor's sort of journey or emotion on stage after it was done. And I would have like, I think I watched in my lifetime, I've seen Les Miserables on stage maybe, oh God, close to like 30. I don't know. It's up in the like,
Holy Lord.
like as a child, anytime it would be somewhere, you know, in any sort of ancillary city, I'm like, Mom, can we go see that one? Or even like a high school version of it. Or like, you know, I love the story. I love the music. I love what it did to me. I would be listening to the soundtrack like obsessively. And I think I just would latch on to like the humanity of someone going through these sort of stressful, sad, like feeling, and outwardly expressing it through song and through their words and through their physicality. And I mean, I'm able to articulate it now as an adult actress, but then I was just so like enthralled. And all I wanted to do was just be around that or be involved in it in any sort of way. And it just became sort of like my favorite extracurricular activity or hobby to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never really thought of it as a career until really post-college and like figuring out that I was on the road to be a doctor actually.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. Again, full circle.
Oh, that's right. I read you studied psychobiology. I don't even know what that is.
I mean, it's something. It's, it's like, it's basically a psychology major with a biology minor. And it sort of focuses on neuroscience and sort of human development, but mostly I was interested in like brain development.
Okay.
In a way that was really like emotional development and seeing how that sort of human part of the body worked. Which now looking back on it, I'm like, it's the same thing of what I was enthralled with like being an actor, I think.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think there's so many actors who have either studied psychology or sociology. For me, I got my minor in sociology because
Oh my God.
I wanted to know how things around us affected who we became.
Ugh, so interesting.
It's incredible.
So interesting. Like, because we're all just little seeds in the beginning. And it's like, what are those external factors that then you learn how to choose the fork in the roads of your life?
Right.
Like, everyone chooses different paths. It's still wild to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think like those deep interests that I had in humanity and human condition, and that really, you know, first drove me to want to be in the medical field because that was sort of the pattern that was in my family.
I was gonna say, probably just that's
Yeah.
what's made sense in your pattern, in
Well,
your
yeah,
environment.
yeah. And I mean, I was also, you know, pretty good at science too. I exceeded at all of that and, you know, was on my way. And then really, but throughout my whole life since childhood, really adamant about doing musical theater and trying to do short films all through high school and college, but not really saying like that's what my career is gonna like that's my vocation. It
Right.
just like a really obsessive hobby.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I think for like a lot of us, my family, they weren't in the industry either. And so I think for people who don't have those familial connections in the industry, it doesn't really seem like something that you can make a career out of.
No. Yeah. I mean, it really doesn't. Even when I think of like encouraging I have a 4-year-old daughter, just like seeing her love to perform and stuff, and I kind of I'm like, do I encourage that? It's such like this weird career.
I think you should. I mean, I started acting when I was 7 and
Oh my
it's
goodness.
it's still the
Yeah.
love of my life. I think
Oh,
when kids, express themselves in that way, it's so special because
yeah.
they're just like born with this spark.
Oh my God. And this imagination, of course, like if you remember when you were 7, just it's so wild, like so
Mhm.
vivid. And it's just 100%. They just want it all the time of
Yep.
like living this imagination. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I just gotta say, Phantom of the Opera completely like encapsulated my preteen years. I was so obsessed. I don't know what Andrew Lloyd Webber put into that music to make preteen girls go rabid, but it just is something.
It's something, right?
Yes.
Like, and the thing is, I don't know, it's so dated, like, and it's awful now.
It's
Like,
horrible now.
they had about the Pantages. They had these three, the Les Miserables and Miss Saigon
Hmm.
and Phantom at the Pantages, I think like 4 years ago. And, I dragged my girlfriend to go see it. I was like, these are my life-changing things. And we were just watching it. I mean, like Miss Saigon, first off, just everything is bad there. Everything
Yeah,
is real bad.
real
Like
bad.
you go to Phantom and you're like, this is a bad
This is conditioning. Interesting.
this is real bad abuse, and she is so manipulated at this point, and he's a predator. I couldn't really figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
this is bad, and
Yeah.
he's killing it. It's just, but so good. I still
But
like
still so
telling
good. But I will still listen to it.
people
I
still
I one
watch
time
it.
was like stuck in traffic by Venice Beach, and I put on Phantom of the Opera, and for whatever reason that has stuck in my mind as being the strangest like dichotomy of listening to Phantom and Venice Beach. I don't know what it was, but it was the strangest moment of my life.
So good.
Anyway,
You couldn't stop. Like, you
yeah,
just kept listening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you studied this incredible scientific stuff, and then you ended up getting a master's of fine arts in acting.
Yeah. And
So
USC.
what was that choice like for you?
Oh man, it was. I mean, the choice was more of like a 3 year, let's figure out transition. I mean, so like I said, I was um, on my way to medical school, literally, like getting interviews and stuff like that. I was just on my way. I was deep in that application process.
Mm,
Um, but something just was a little, again, all through it, still doing this hobby of like loving theater, all this stuff. Um, and on my way, I was just like, something's a little bit off, So I'm just going to take a pause from this application process. I think I'm a little burnt out from school. So I moved to San Francisco, and I also got this job at Stanford Hospital doing cancer research.
mm,
And then, so I was doing with incredible doctors, and this was like just gonna give me experience as a doctor, as like working with doctors and everything like that, just to make sure that that's what I wanted to do. And so I was doing this job in Stanford and commuting back and living in San Francisco, and doing like theater at night and
mm.
taking classes during the weekend for acting, and just pursuing short films and trying to just feed that itch too. And I did this dance for maybe about 3 years of
Wow.
like cancer research by day, like theater actor by night. And I was exhausted, but I was having the best time. It was just like awesome, because I wasn't worried financially, and like doing theater for like zero money, but it was just the greatest thing in my 20s. And I just remember there was this one moment when I was on my way commuting to Stanford, and it was like 5 a.m. This was like year 3, and it was a big day for me at work. So there was like this big presentation that I was like spearheading, and about this new data that I had found or whatever in the department I was. And it was really important, and it was going to like level up my job and whatever, and it's going to be great on my resume. And I should really be caring about that.
Mm-hmm.
But all I cared about, I did not want to be prepping that presentation on the way there, which I should have been, like, because I think it bombed. All I was wanting to do on the train was learn my lines for the play I was rehearsing that night. Like, all I wanted to do was just read the play that I was going to be working on in rehearsal that night in San Francisco. Like, I didn't care about this presentation. I didn't want to go to work. I really wanted to like call in sick and just like have it be 5 p.m. so I could go back to San Fran. And I just I finally was able to realize that I think I need to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And that really started this sort of like, if I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be one of those doctors that I was working with who are just like, this is their passion. They're like up at 5 reading the newest articles that are coming out for like the research protocol they're doing that morning, and emailing it to me to read it as well. And I just wanted to read a play. Like, it was like,
You're like, do you got any Beckett?
Like, recent, can we do like this, like, sort of, yeah, it was so bizarre. But like, it took maybe a couple of those moments where I'm like, this Amielynn, just stop.
Yeah.
So when I finally like came to, I thought, okay, I think I got to try this. I auditioned for, like, not telling my parents, I like auditioned for these MFA programs for acting, like across the country, because I thought, I know the acceptance rate is low for these; it's hard to get in. So if I get in, like, maybe that means I have something to offer. And I did. I got into DePaul in Chicago, which is an awesome program, and then USC. And so I, like, once that happened, it was just go time. I quit cancer curing. and it's time to quit the cancer curing. And
leave that behind.
Someone will do it. No, I mean, it was an excellent job. If I really was like passionate about being a doctor, I was on my way, but it wasn't. And so I moved to LA and never looked back. And I'm really grateful that I had that, because now I can never look back. Like, I don't have any sort of regret. I don't think like, oh man, being a doctor, what did I miss there? So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing. And I think it's super interesting too, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, how that this has kind of all come together in recent years in your life here.
Yeah.
But so you moved to LA, you start your master's program. Do you automatically start trying to get an agent? What's that like for you?
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for asking. It is. So I graduated from USC MFA in acting in 2011.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've been at it for a while. I think right out of there, we have a showcase. And so I think I had my first manager there. So that was lovely. And it just, I love the USC program, but something that I feel was really lacking was like, what happens when you leave school and that comforting bubble? Like, what is the business part of this career? Like, what
Exactly. That's always the thing. Every time I have somebody on who's gone to a master's program or even a bachelor's program in acting, it's like, why aren't they talking about the business?
No.
Which is what we need to know.
You have to. And because that, you just have to learn that as you go. It just doesn't, they're so, granted, they're so focused on teaching you, how to build a character, how to, like, iambic pentameter for Shakespeare and Chekhov and all the stuff that you need as well, to succeed. But it,
like, one business class wouldn't hurt us.
Like, how to like, what does it mean for, how to do our taxes as actors, like, how to read a call sheet if you're on set, when you get to that, like, I didn't know how to do any of that, or just like the people that I needed to try and get in contact with would have been nice. But yes, so I kind of just learned that and hustled that for a while, but it really was that the management wasn't, it turns out, and if you've ever had experience with a manager who is just like, you're just like a number, know, and they're just like blasting you out, like, and so, I got a couple things from it, but it wasn't really any sort of relationship that long term. So I've sort of been in and out of management agents, and the team that I have now is, I just want to be with them for the long haul.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think trying my best to self-submit with Actors Access was like my life for a while, and really, getting into short films, getting into like stuff but learning how to scour breakdowns and really contacting was sort of my work, but then also feeling like representation was trying to, and also I'm a big theater person, so I was doing sort of LA 99-seat theater since then.
Fringe stuff,
But,
all that, yeah.
Love it. So that really, like, that kept my sort of creativity and sort of acting muscle going all the time. I'm so grateful that I've had sort of a good string of that, and I still do theater now. But in terms of film and television, it's been so sparse. Like, this is my first, like, I won the lottery with this. I feel like I hit the jackpot in a way that I think right place, right time, right role, everything. Like, I'm in awe that, that came to me and I was there for it and ready.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so much of us out there that are doing these same exact things, and it's a weird universe situation that will
And
be
it's
with you
just
when it's
like,
with you.
you said something so important there, which is that you were ready when it came to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing that actors, and especially younger actors who are maybe, 3 or 4 years into it and haven't gotten that like reoccurring or substantial role in something where they feel like, well, I keep doing these things. And it's like, yes, but all of this is leading you to the point where you're going to be prepared and you're going to be ready for the thing that the universe is going to provide you when you're ready.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. 'Cause I think the career is it's like a marathon of like staying ready. And can you keep that stamina up and learning how to manage staying ready? Because you'll just do hundreds. I mean, if you're lucky, do hundreds of auditions and not get a single one. But each one of those could have been an opportunity, and you need to be ready for each one of those. And it's such a degrading, discouraging experience of like literally doing 100 and not hearing back of anything. And staying ready and giving it your all every time. Like, it's awful. I find
it is
really awful.
It is awful. Like, there is no good way around it. There's nothing like fun about constantly being told no. It's just not fun.
It's not ever easy. Like, I don't think I've learned how to manage rejection at all.
I mean, but I think that is a little bit of a superpower. I think the second that you stop caring about being rejected, then it means that you've like lost the love for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think we should feel sad when we don't get the thing that we really liked or that we put so much effort into. I think we should feel that. I think it helps inform us, and I think it does help us, stay committed to the grind, to the hustle. Because then oh man, I really do still love this, dang it.
Yeah. But it's like, it's true. You're totally right. And I think, like, so many times, I don't think I ever got to a place where I wanted to ever stop or quit, but it just is, like, I'd be so aware of my passion for it because of how awful it was when I didn't get it. Like, that sort of, how low I am really was just a total reflection of how much I loved it. Yeah. And it's just so hard.
It's so hard. Let's call our therapist really quick. We're going to take a quick commercial break and then we'll be right back.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai-iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
And back to the show. Well, let's talk about your show. That now that we've kind of alluded to it in 1,000 different ways, you're on the Pitt with the fabulous Noah Wiley.
Oh man.
Gosh, I love him. I was a strike captain at WB, and I saw that man at least once a week. Like, he was always out there with us,
Amazing.
just hitting the pavement, which I so appreciated seeing. But the show was
Wasn't surprised.
fantastic. I was
Yeah.
obsessed with ER as a kid, and so it's fun to see him in a different, role, a different thing, and I like how the show is set up. So tell me a little bit about your character and the experience of filming this, because I can imagine that it is quite intense.
Yeah. I mean, intense in so many different ways, like externally of just what we're doing, and then also internally for me, just because of how big of a deal it is to just be there. But yes, I'm not surprised about Noah hitting the pavement. He's that guy. He's just
Great.
that good guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's just so kind and generous, and he really is everything. Like his character as Dr. Rabinovich is so like a real hero but like a relaxed hero who's in this and just doing it for the love of that he is in this position as a doctor and that's his life. But I digress. But yes, he's wonderful. Yes, the Pitt. I play a nurse, one of Noah's sort of right-hand nurses. Her name is Perla Alawi. And she has been working with Dr. Robbie at this Pittsburgh hospital for at least 5 years, like through COVID with him. So she's in the grind too. She's probably, I believe, has suffered through all this trauma similarly with all the healthcare workers with COVID. And so I love playing her. I think she's just this real steady, really good at her job, doesn't really can't be bothered by the medical students or the doctors, and is sort of straight ahead. But also, I realize in the way that they write her and what I can bring is has a little bit of snark and gossipiness to her, but not overbearing. She's just living, and
She's just living.
she's just living.
She's just doing her thing.
She's just doing her thing, being a nurse, being snarky, kind of eye rolling at the students. So it's been fun to play her. And in terms of filming it, gosh, I mean, we just wrapped last week, and I think I'm still recovering from sort of the blast of the 7 months. But every episode was 9 days, and which, I mean, again, I have no precedent of how or what it's supposed to be, but it was 9 days, which felt, I guess that's fast, who knows. But just at Warner Brothers, they built Stage 22 into this whole incredible hospital.
Wow.
Where nothing works. Nothing works in any sort of real way. I remember trying there's a water fountain right there. I'm thirsty. And I would go and it there's no water.
Not real.
That's just a problem. Stay thirsty. Just
Stay thirsty.
Stay thirsty. So it just was, it's just this amazing, but the attention to detail that Nina Ruscio, who's the set designer, made was just, it looks so real.
So
And
the stage itself, it's set up like the hospital, so you can go into different areas, into different rooms.
yes, it's a whole hospital of the floor of that emergency
Right.
department, of course.
That's amazing. That reminds me, they did the same thing with West Wing back in the day, and that's how they were able to do all those walk and talks. And I saw
Yeah.
a diagram of it once, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I love that they did that.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that about the West Wing, but that totally makes sense. I heard recently that Nina, like, that was the first thing that they did, was have Nina create this open space blueprint of the hospital, and they wrote based on like what they had created the
Wow.
set first, so they can really sort of map out, oh, this doctor's coming out here and we can see them back there and things like that. So yeah, it's an incredible set of a hospital, and it is, and we filmed chronologically, which when I talk to people who've worked in TV for so long, that sort of amazes them, because usually they batch like scenes or days. So we all were there all the time, because it's set in real time. Is that even if today is not your scene and there's a focus over here, you're almost always caught in the background
Right.
of their scene. So you need to be there. And so it was this real, true ensemble sort of situation, which they encouraged from the very beginning, and like put that actually in the breakdown in the very beginning. Like Noah sent out this letter that went out with all the breakdowns. If you got an audition, that this is
I've auditioned for it, and I've seen the letter, and I'm like, oh my God, this is cool.
Yeah, so cool, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
it's just so awesome.
Yeah. Oh my, I'm so glad you saw the letter, because you know what I'm talking about. It's like this weird, he was encouraging, like, we really have to have each other's back all the time throughout 100% of this process. Because this is what a hospital is. This is what a true sort of repertory ensemble is. So really created sort of a tight-knit team, and even with crew and directors and everything, if you're not in the cast, just in case you get caught in the background, everyone is wearing scrubs. Like,
wow.
all the lighting's wearing scrubs, like cameras wearing scrubs, the directors are wearing scrubs, just in case like they catch you in the back, because everything's moving around so fast.
That's amazing.
Yeah, totally amazing.
I love too how it just feels like so much of your life has led to this, like your obsession with theater, going to school to be a doctor, and it all just kind of set you up for this specific thing.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that the universe did that. And I like, what came first, the chicken or the egg of like, is that what, but I think even in the audition, I was able to sort of, I don't know if I was able to have like an extra, like, just awareness of like maybe what the scene was talking about, or add a little bit of flair, just because my mother is a nurse, and I've been around hospitals and how they sort of like even fuss around at their workstation a little bit, or like I like bring little quirks to whenever I have a scene. And so I'm just so happy that I have that background. And then also, like, the language is really, really heavy, of course, with medical context, and it just isn't as foreign. So that
it's amazing.
I'm so happy that I can like figure it out maybe a little bit quicker than if I didn't have the background.
It's so cool. And you guys were already picked up for season 2, which is amazing.
Amazing.
I mean,
I never really know like what the trajectory is, like when that ever gets announced, but we were, on our last days of shooting, and we were just like, oh, we hope. And then we got the announcement. Everyone's thrilled.
So exciting. Yeah. Well, it's a great show, and you are great, and I can't, wait to see more of it.
I'm so glad you auditioned. Do you remember what you auditioned for?
It was
There's so many roles for you.
it was a woman who came in with her like screaming baby
Oh, screaming baby.
who wouldn't stop crying.
Yeah. Did you see that episode yet?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Do you know why she was the? So yes, you were.
It was something in her something stuck up her nose, right? Or something?
Oh, was it that one? Well, the one
I can't remember.
Yeah, this heartbreaking mother comes in and her child, and it really is just an infant and just wailing. I think it was a piece of her hair, the mother's hair.
Yes.
Caught on her toe.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yes. It had wrapped around. Yeah.
Poor thing.
So good.
It was just so painful, and we just used Nair to sort of dissolve.
Yeah.
The hair. Just a neat sort of craziness.
I feel like that is probably more common, things like that happening in ERs than we're aware of.
Oh yeah, like everything that happens on the show is something that actually has happened. The writer, like one of the head writers, is an actual ER doctor. His name is Joe Sachs, and I think even before writing, they went to Pittsburgh, like sat down with real the ER departments, and really got stories from them of like what stories like happen all the time that you don't see on television, or ones that you like never see. Just got real stories of things like that, like the naked dude running through the hospital in the very beginning. They're like, yeah, that happens maybe like 3 times a day. And the nurses are just
chasing.
Like,
oh my
god, just pulling out their IVs, blood.
I love it.
Everywhere.
It's really great. I mean, it makes it real, right? It makes it real.
Totally. I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you auditioned.
Yeah. Maybe I'll be in season 2.
Yeah.
So we've come to the part of the show where I like to ask my guests to share an audition story from your past. It can be something funny. It can be something sad. It can be the one that got away. Is there a story that you'd like to share? They're all sad, but
could be sort of sad. One that, I mean, the most recent one, and that comes to mind, is the one for the Pitt. I mean, just the audition process was a real, like, month-long sort of crazy situation. But there's one particular moment that I'm like, oh my god, I'm still sort of kicking myself for it. But,
oh man.
There was the initial tape, and then that was awesome or whatever. And then like a week later was a Zoom callback. And then Zoom callback, and like I've never actually done a Zoom callback before.
They're very interesting.
Well, there's like a delay, and like, I don't know who I'm looking at, but I mean, I guess I did okay. But there's like 30 people on that Zoom. What I remember when I did it, and then after that, then there was a second callback where I went into the John Wells production office, and that was with John Wells, and who's the executive producer, and then Scott Gemmell, who is the showrunner and the creator and head writer and also executive producer, and then 3 of the casting people, the main casting people. And I don't know about you, but I like to, well, I used to, I don't anymore that much, but I used to really like to feel prepared for the audition. I would really research the producers or the directors or like really deep dive, just so like I know who they are, their breadth of work, and talking points or whatever. But and it's useful, but also I realized that the more I did that, it would actually really psych me out. Yeah, it would just sort of, I would get really intimidated. I would just be like, oh my god, this person is like, I would be like talent intimidated, or and so I would just not be able to be a real person in the room. So I just sort of like stopped doing that, or did it less, so I can just be a real person and have a conversation. And so with this, I was, I know who John Wells is. I know who Scott is. I didn't know a ton. I mean, of course I know ER and all of that, and Shameless and West Wing, and I watch Animal King, all of it. And I'm like, yes, okay, he's a really big deal. He's a titan of this industry as a legendary like producer and creator. So I was like, that's all I need to know. That's fine. Like, go in there, like, share yourself, be yourself.
Yeah.
So go in. It's great. They are really so lovely. It was a tiny little room, and it was exactly like the Zoom callback. I read the scene twice or whatever, and they were very gracious, gave me a little bit of direction. And then, I realized that this is just for them to kind of get to know the person. Of course, like who do we want to spend like 7 months with for 15-hour days?
Right.
So then he starts asking me like, "Hey, Amielynn, where are you from?" And just basically tell me about yourself. And I give him the story that I'm from Stockton, and I'm trying to keep my cool. Also,
Right.
Like,
Right. No big deal.
John
This happens to me every day.
Scott Gamble, all of the casting in here, but it's really challenging. So I'm like, yeah, I'm from Stockton, which is up north 5 hours. I went to Santa Clara University, pre-med, and he was asking about that, and I went to Stanford, blah blah blah. As basically the story I told you, and then finally, really ended up at USC, and it was great. And he's like, "Oh, okay, great." And I was like, "Yeah, the USC has an amazing MFA, an acting program, and I was like, oh, they also have a film program, at a School of Cinematic Arts, and he's like, mm-hmm, and then I like kind of, and I'm like, you've heard of, yeah, I'm sure like some of the greatest creators come out of the School of Cinematic Arts. It's a really, really excellent program. And I like I glance over and I see like Scott, like, and he's now that I know him, he's great, but then he was so intimidating, like look down the whole time, just sort of listening. And I see him like sort of, raise over and like look over at John. And then I like see the casting people also like, and I thought, and I was like, yeah, I see it. I was like, oh, great. And it's like, I see it as an invitation to like keep talking about this program.
Oh no.
And I was like, yeah, it's such a wonderful MFA program. They have a Bachelor's of Fine Arts. They have, everything. So they have writing programs and everything. It's a really great, great program. And they're like, mm-hmm. And then I move on. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And then just keep talking about
that was weird.
Something's kind of weird. Like later on, I find out there's a USC School of Cinematic Arts John Wells division of screen and television writing. There's a division.
Solid.
He has
solid.
A building. Like, he's an alumni. He's a notable alumni with a division. And I'm like,
ooh.
Have you heard of it? The greatest people come out of there.
So many cool people.
So many cool people. I don't know if you know. But it was like, they were so sweet. And he just, he's such a cool man and just a very kind, and he didn't even bat an eye. Like he has no ego. Like he doesn't need to tell me.
You know what? I love that. I love that so much. He had every opportunity to be like any other, famous wealthy dude and be like, yeah, I know, like bull. Like, he could have just like immediately put you down, but he let you believe that you were telling him great information that he did not know. Like, and that to me is so kind. So kind. Especially for like an actor who's he knows that we're already stressed in that room. And he knows that if he had said something, like he would have probably destroyed your brain. So the fact that he just let you go on and be like, oh, that's great. Like that to me is just such good character.
Oh man. And all of them too.
Yeah.
Scott, like casting, just like smiling through it.
Yeah.
And just like, just letting me have my little floor.
They were probably like, oh, sweet baby angel, you don't even know.
Oh, sweetheart, we know about it. Totally. He knows about the program, dear.
Oh my God. Wait, so
Yeah.
has that ever come up with John? Did you guys ever talk about that?
You know, it hasn't. And, he directed.
Can we get John on the line? Like, let's hash this out really quick.
JW, where he directed the first and the last episode of the Pitt.
Oh,
So
cool.
just been there, and he's such a kind man. But no, I never really brought it up ever again. But I did tell that story to some other people, and they're like, "Ugh." So it's the fine balance of should I deep dive and stalk like everything about them, or
Right.
just let it be.
I don't know. I feel like it would have been weirder if you would have been like, well, you know all about USC and like tried to like connect in that way rather than you just being like so completely unaware and just being like, this is so cool. I feel like that is just so much more like charming.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, well, thank you. It did okay, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey,
So
you booked it. We're good.
we're great. Stay naive, guys.
Stay naive. Stay naive.
Kind of. Stay open, I guess, and not like. I mean, I used to like want to plan out everything and like, oh, I'm gonna bring that up. So I mean, it's just not how we exist in a conversation.
No.
Right? So
No. That's not how life is by any means. Even if you do try to like have those conversations in your head and try to figure out how it's going to play out, and you're like, maybe this, and this. No, it doesn't go that way ever.
So, for anything in life.
For anything. We can't do it, guys.
Nope. Like, do
Oh
you have
my
a
God.
birth plan?
Yeah.
No.
No.
When you have a child, women have birth plans. It doesn't ever happen. Like,
Right.
there's no plan, you guys. It's
Right.
just
You just,
gonna
it
come
happens.
out how it's going to come out painfully. There's no plan, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you've wrapped season 1. You're on a hiatus.
Yeah.
What are your plans? Are you gonna chill out for a little bit?
Oh,
Take
man.
a nice long nap?
Still napping.
Hibernate?
Still hibernating. I'm starting a play, actually.
Great.
Yes, we just started workshopping it, and then we're going to start rehearsal in April, and then performances are in May.
Amazing.
So totally stoked about it. It's called Hide and Hide.
Cool.
At Skylight Theater, which is in Los Feliz.
Yeah.
Yay! I love it there. And so it'll be in May.
That's so fun.
Cool.
Exciting. Well, I've so enjoyed having you on the show and getting to know you. How can people follow you on social media to keep up with your, adventures?
Happenings. Yeah, thank you for having me. I totally enjoyed telling you all my things. And I also never really know. I haven't done a lot of podcasts. I like want to ask stuff about you. What's your story? Is there time for that once you're auditioning?
We'll do it offline.
Okay. I'm like, is there room for that? Let's see. Oh, just Amielynn Abellera. I'm on Instagram. It's easily findable, I think, if you spell my
If you spell it correctly.
AMIELYNN, one word, Abellera. Abellera.
How often does that affect you? Because still to this day, I consistently have to tell people there's no I in Claire, and it's just like every single time I see something and they put an I in Claire, I'm just like, nope, that's not it.
Claire without an I, please.
Please.
Yeah. I mean, daily. Like, was it something growing up? Like, for me growing up, it was just always a thorn in my side of people like Amielynn or Amielynn or first name Amy, last name Lynn. And I'm like, no, just Amielynn. Here's how you spell it. And it's Amielynn, not Amy. You can please have that third syllable there.
Please put that there.
It's not hard. But yeah, still happens, but I'm okay correcting it these days.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was so nice getting to know you, and I'm so excited to see what you do next.
Thank you for having me. It was a joy.
Thanks again to Amielynn for coming on the show and hanging out with me. Make sure to check out The Pit on Max and tune in for another episode in a couple weeks. And as always, thanks for coming in.
I'm Amy Nicholson, the film critic for the LA Times.
And I'm Paul Scheer, an actor, writer, and director. You might know me from The League, Veep, or my non-eligible for Academy Award role in Twisters.
We love movies, and we come at them from different perspectives.
Yeah, like Amy thinks that, Joe Pesci was miscast in Goodfellas, and I don't.
He's too old. Let's not forget that Paul thinks that Dune 2 is overrated.
It is.
Anyway, despite this, we come together to host Unspooled, a podcast where we talk about good movies, critical hits,
fan favorites, must-sees, and in case you missed them.
We're talking Parasite to Home Alone.
From Grease to The Dark Knight.
We've done deep dives on popcorn flicks. We've talked about why Independence Day deserves a second look.
And we've talked about horror movies, some that you've never even heard of, like Ganja and Hess.
So if you love movies like we do, come along on our cinematic adventure.
Listen to Unspooled wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to hit the follow button.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast, and with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.